folks, and welcome to our lesson series on Microsoft Excel. Today we're going to continue talking about formulas. This is more of a practice lesson, not a whole bunch of new stuff being learned here, but good to work with a large practical document when practicing with formulas. So here I have a quote for a number of different things for building well, basically for landscaping. So we have some stone materials, we have some planters, we've got a whole bunch of materials for building a deck. So lots of stuff, lots of things to work with here. And this is going to be your demo document. So make sure that you've got this open. It'll be, of course, in your OneNote so that you can work along with me. So here we want to start off with text formatting. So right now everything is just a bunch of numbers here. So you'll notice that this is actually currency. It's $11.68, and we need 7 of them. Now you could type a dollar sign in front of each of these numbers, and Excel will typically understand that this is intended to be a currency. So as you can see, it switched its format to currency as soon as I added that dollar sign. But what we can do is we can change this entire column to be a currency format, and Excel will do the rest for us. And this just saves you having to hit the dollar sign all the time, and or potentially risking having your function not work. So what we'll do is we'll select everything in this column. So I'm going to start here, scroll down, and I'm going to shift click this last item, and we'll change it over to currency. So just like that, every one of my items in this column has now changed to include a dollar sign. So that's perfect. This is just sort of some basic auto formatting. Now, if I were to click right click here and go Format Cells, you can see that there are a lot of other options. General just means that you're putting text into the cell. Number means that there are going to be numbers only, so Excel will attempt to format correctly. You can limit the number of decimal places available, which is useful particularly when using certain types of equations. And you can also change how negative numbers show up. So you can have a negative number just show up as negative 1234.10, so it's just showing that the number will be black. It'll have a negative sign before it. That's it. You can format it so that a negative number will be in red. The value in that being that, of course, you'll be highlighted for you. You can see where your negative numbers are. Similarly, you can have negative numbers in brackets or red and in brackets. This is particularly useful when you're working with currency. So you can change the currency symbol if you wish. Excel has all sorts of international currencies built in, and you can change how your negative numbers show as well. We won't worry too much about the other ones, but these are all pretty self-explanatory. You can have Excel auto-format dates for you. As soon as you type in a date, if it recognizes it as such, it will format it into whichever type you've chosen. Times, percentages. Percentages take a number that's written as a decimal, multiplies it by 100, and adds a percentage sign to the end of it, which is kind of nice. So you can work with decimals in your spreadsheet, but have them appear as percentages if you want to. Fractions can show up appropriately as necessary. Scientific notation rather, so we've got 1.17 times the constant e plus 0.1. I'm actually not sure exactly how that scientific notation works, but that's okay. Text only is more useful than just general. Under very specific circumstances, you can have special formatting, and you can have custom formatting as well. So this custom formatting allows you, say like this, for example, to have numbers show up in very specific ways based on stuff that you enter into your cells. We'll go over some of these more complex formatting as necessary, but for now we're just going to stick with currency. So let's see, what do we want to do next? So with this currency setup, we've selected a maximum of 2 decimal places. This shouldn't affect, I don't think, anything in this. Okay, so here we have 0.024, so that could potentially cause some decimal place stuff to happen. Yeah, it looks like we're all just at 2 decimal places, so we're not going to likely end up with multiple decimal places. So we talked about summing in the last I guess in the last video that I've done here, and we'll work a little bit more with that, with just very basic. In this case, we're not going to use summing quite yet, where we're adding certain cells. We're just going to work with basic functions, but we are going to create a new column here called totals. And the reason for that is we want to know what is the cost of buying 7 2x8 barefoot brown boards at $11.68 per board. So it's very, very simple to do that. As always, we start our function with an equals sign. And I could use a function if I wanted to, but since this is just such a simple calculation, all I'll do is hit B3, and we're going to multiply that. Now the asterisk sign, if you don't know, is generally used as a multiplication sign. Using the X would not work because it would be recognized as text. So you do B3 times C3, and all I do is hit enter, and my calculation happens there. By default, this cell has taken over the formatting of the cell beside it. Now, before, what I would have you do is do the same thing for each cell, but that is enormously tedious, and one of the reasons why I wanted to work with a large data set was to show you that you could do more. So we've worked with autofill in the past. All I need to do is highlight a cell that has the function in it that I want, hold down Control, grab the expanding toggle here, and just start dragging it down. So I'm holding down Control while I do this. I scroll down to the last item that I need to multiply, and let it go, and most of my cells have now filled with dollar values. What has happened here is our function, our formula, has been transported. So basically these numbers here, B4 and C4, these are called reference cells. So B4 is the reference cell, C4 is the reference cell for this equation. When I transport the equation, I'm saying I want my equation to take place exactly identically one cell down. It changes the references to also be one cell down. Okay, this is a super useful way to create repeating equations. Now we'll just go to places where I've got something like a little title, and we'll just clear that cell so that it's not creating unnecessary additional text on the spreadsheet, because that's just visually can be confusing. So we'll just scroll down. Whenever you see something like this where it says pound value, so by the way guys, the number sign, we would always refer to that as a number sign or pound. The only time that we would refer to that as hashtag is when we're referring to social media that uses the pound symbol for the specific function of a hashtag. So we're not going to call that at all in Excel. So pound value, this is Excel just warning us that something is wrong with our equation. It's tried to multiply B61 with C61, but it's come up with C61 as having some text in it, so it's confused about that. The function won't work. So that's just a standard alert that you'll get, and you can see that there's a little exclamation point kind of telling you what it thinks is wrong. So we'll delete that. And there we go. Okay, so we've got just single decimal places all the way down. This is nice and easy to read. Next up, we'll look at summing our totals. So I want to know how much, we're going to create subtotals. So I want to know how much does this deck, how much is this deck going to cost us? How much are my walkways and retainer walls going to cost us? And how much are the sort of other miscellaneous things that I need? How much are they going to cost us? So this is quite simple. We are also going to do a sum function here. So I'll scroll down to where I want a subtotal. So you can see I've already got a subtotal here. And all I'm going to do is just sum this column up directly above us. So I'm going to go equals sum. We open a bracket so that it knows that it's going to use a bunch of different numbers. I click on this first one and drag all the way down to the end of our data set. And then I close the bracket. Now, the sum function will ignore all of my blank cells. Now, if I was getting that pound value warning, this would not actually work. We'll get a pound value warning in our sum function. So $7,909.53. And then the last thing that we can do is we'll find out what tax is. So we're going to go equals, hit our total here, and we're going to multiply this times 1.14, because in Manitoba our taxes are 14%. So when you multiply, if you wanted to find out just what the taxes cost, you could multiply times 0.14, which is 14%, and that would tell you the additional value you have to pay by taxes. But I want to know the grand total with taxes. So 1.14, and then just hit enter, and there's my total with taxes. Now what we have essentially is a function that's based on another function, which is based on a whole row of functions. So what will happen if we end up changing any of these values? Multiple functions will change. So if I change this to 2, for example, this value will change, this value will change, and this value will change. Watch. So I hit 2, and all those values just changed. Maybe I'll make it a bit more of a major difference, and I'll go 50. Just like that. So this value and these two values changed. So these are functions based on functions. So that you want to be careful when you're if you for some reason this number you want to change it, you don't just go and actually change it. You make sure that the function that the cells that the function are based off of is what you change. Otherwise, you'll sort of screw up your entire document. So you want to be very, very careful with that, because if you go breaking functions, everything else kind of stops working. So if you ever don't like a value that you're seeing in a cell, make sure that you click on that cell and double check to see if there's a function involved. Okay? Otherwise, you'll just end up screwing up the rest of your calculations. So we'll create another subtotal here. We're going to go sum, grab the total, and then this one will add tax. And this as well. I accidentally selected 2 cells. And there we go. So now we've created totals for everything. Last up, we've got a grand total. So the grand total is now going to be another function built on several functions. We're going to take all of our subtotals to get the final amounts owing. Now, we could do this in one of 2 ways. We could create another array equation where we're going like these amounts plus these amounts and so on, but that just gets a little bit tedious. So instead of doing that, we're just going to do something quite simple. We go equals, I'll hit the subtotal here, and then I'm going to hold down the control key and hit my next subtotal. So now what it's going to do is add those 2 numbers together. We'll grab our next subtotal, And that's it for subtotals. And all I'll do is hit enter. Oh, of course. Let's add some plus signs, why don't we, huh? That should make a difference. Voila. Much better. Much, much better. And lastly, we'll create a grand total with taxes. But instead of adding up all of our totals with tax, we'll just use a function that multiplies this times 1.14 and adds our total. Now we have our budget. So our budget is $28,000, and we'll change that to a currency as well. And we can have an over-under. So over-under is just a way of saying how much are we over or under budget. So what we do is we simply take 28,000, so we'll go equals our 28,000, subtract the grand total with taxes, and hit enter, and we end up with a negative number. But because I want this formatting to show up as some sort of negative, some sort of highlighted thing, I'm going to change that general format. So first of all, we'll change it over to currency. Oops. Currency. There we go. And we'll highlight this. And we can highlight this one of two ways. I'll show you one way that we will work with right now, and one way that we'll work with a little bit later, is we can do conditional formatting. So conditional formatting, I can actually choose to highlight cells. So highlight cell rules, any number that is less than, so if the cell is less than some number that I set, I can change it to be a different color. So if I were to do that, hit the less than, so it tells me the cell that I'm selecting. If I want to have more than one cell, I can select them, whatever. But less than $0. We'll say less than 0. Light red fill with dark red text. Just like that. And now that cell turns red. So if this grand total with taxes was 27,000, for example, oops, not 270,000, it would highlight and it'll tell me how much money I have left in my budget. I don't want to do that though. So there we go. We have now used all the functions that we need for the time being on this document. The last thing that we should do though is do a little bit of formatting to make it a little bit more readable. So I'm going to take all of my titles here, and we're going to change them to a larger size. We'll go with size 18 and bold, and I'm just going to auto size these columns just like we do in Microsoft Word, and we'll create a highlight for them. So there's the bucket tool here, which allows us to dye the background of the cells, and we'll do orange, just a light orange. And then we've got stone materials, so we'll change this similarly to size 18 as well. Oops, 18. We'll dye that, and we'll dye all the cells so that they're the same. So there's some continuity. And then we've got some planter boxes. So this is another title here. So once again, increase size and bold. I think I forgot to bold this one, didn't I? Yeah. And bold. Okay, so there's just a little bit of separation. Now each of these items here, this is just telling us that for the beams on the deck, these items are what we need to purchase. So same thing here, like this is a list of brackets that we'll need. So we'll just change each of these cells. I'm going to highlight them by holding down Control and selecting each of them one at a time. Stair support. There we go. And I'm just going to hit bold to make them a little bit stick out a little bit. And I actually kind of like how they're highlighted in gray right now. It sort of implies some separation. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to go and highlight them in gray. The question is, I actually kind of like this, where we do the whole line across, so it creates some visible separation between each of the items in the line. We'll do gray there as well. Okay. Oops. Looks like I missed one, so we'll bold that. Dye it as well. There we go. Okay, so we've got a little bit more separation going through and making this document much easier to read. So this is always one of the dangers when you're working with long lists and lots of spreadsheets, is that sometimes you just need color or borders or something to highlight individual items. You don't want to have like too much highlighting where you've got color all over the place and nothing sticks out. Here we're just creating some very mild separation. Makes everything easier to read. We will take the subtotal though, and total, and we'll bold that. And I'm going to highlight both of these by dyeing the background yellow. That's too bright. Let's do that. So we'll go ahead and do that with each of our two here, and we'll bold. There we go. And bold. We'll bold these as well because they're main titles. And there we go. So now we have some things that sort of stick out at us. This is going to draw the eye of the reader to very specific cells which we want them to know about. So there we are. We now have some basic conditional formatting. We're going to leave this one as highlighted red. I mentioned that I was going to show you another way of doing some conditional formatting. So I might as well actually do that right now. We're going to clear that rule. And we'll go with the basic formatting. Sorry about this, I forgot to mention it earlier, or I mentioned it earlier, didn't follow through. We're going to change our currency to be just red in brackets. And that's the simplest formatting that you can have. Anything that is in the negative shows up as red and in brackets, and so I know that there's some difference there. So very simple quote drawn up for a client, which shows us all of the costs that we're looking at to construct this this project. So make sure that you save this document. I've got this as Lesson 6, Formulas Continued, and submit it to me. Hope everything made sense, but of course, as always, feel free to ask questions. You can leave comments or contact me directly. Thanks very much. See you next time.